everyone. Welcome to another episode of Amantya podcast series. We have an exciting session lined up today on how AI is firing testing tools for complex systems like RAN, core, and Wi Fi networks. The topic of today's discussion is beyond automation AI's transformative role in modern testing tools. What challenges do traditional testing methods face, and how does AI help overcome them? How are testing tools evolving to keep pace with the increasingly complex network systems? Joining us to explore these questions and share his insights into the transformative shift happening in the network testing domain is Amantya's VP Engineering, Gaurav Sharma. Gaurav also leads the AI practice here at Amantya and brings extensive expertise in both network technologies and AI solutions. Welcome, Gaurav. Wonderful to have you on the show. Look forward to a great session.
Thank you, Rohit. Good to be here.
So, shall we get started?
Yes, please.
So, coming to the first question, the traditional testing processes, they face numerous challenges, especially with the growing complexity of modern, network systems. Could you highlight some of these challenges and how AI-powered tools, help address them, especially for systems like RAN, core, and Wi-Fi networks?
So yeah, traditionally speaking, I mean, telecom is tough, right? If you look at the way telecom networks are designed and implemented, right, they consist of multiple components, right? And all these components have very complicated interdependencies and a very complex algorithm running. So, in any case, to test a full telecom system or even parts of it has been a bit of hard work, right? A lot of organizations have come up with solutions for this, but then because of the inherent nature of how networks are designed or are built, the complexity still remains, right? So, and to add on to that, as these networks evolve, right, you have new specifications, new standards coming, right? And each of these standards, right, that adds its own layer of complexity or its own algorithm on top of it, right? Now, to test all these things, it has been tough, right? Now, the other important aspect is that so you can test these things in your lab. You can come up with simulators, you can come up with emulators, right? But then uh, when you have these real networks, right, it's actually very difficult to predict what happens in a real network, right? It's a very dynamic, changing environment, right? So you may do a lot of testing within your lab, but then when the rubber hits the road, right, it's always going to be challenging, right? Also, another challenge that we've seen, at least in our experience with testing in telecom networks, is the scalability aspect, right? Now, things may work perfectly fine with a small subscriber base right now, but with telecom networks and the way the number of devices that actually interact with telecom networks, right, they've been growing in billions, right? So, scalability testing or a non-functional performance load testing, that is also a very big challenge, right? Uh, so and the other complexity that this brings in it, because the so earlier when you look at these telecom networks, the devices that were latching or utilizing these networks, they were quite homogeneous, right? They were similar in nature, right? But especially in the last few decades, 1 or 2 decades, let me put it that way, the kind of devices, right, that has increased tremendously, right? And because of that, the protocols, the interactions have also become complicated. So these devices, because of their varying nature, right, it's actually very difficult to test each and every aspect of a particular interaction. So those are challenges which are inherent to telecom networks, right? And that's why there are very big companies that actually test or provide testing tools for this. And yeah, and operators also running a network, launching a network, right? It has always been a very complicated task for them as well. A lot of planning of testing, drive tests, etc., right? So they also get into this particular phase. Now, what is interesting is the role AI plays into this thing, and I guess that was one part of your
Yes, of
question,
course.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, AI is quite interesting, right? Now, if you look at telecom networks, right, they are the biggest generator of data, right, or one of the biggest generator of data, right? Now, because of the number of devices, because of the inherent complexity, the number of nodes, the number of components, subcomponents, functions, right? It's humongous, right? And the interactions between them, it's very difficult to have a static, programmable, rule-based environment, right? So AI play or can play a very critical, important role in this thing, right? And that's again because AI is something that learns from the environment, modifies itself based on the feedback, right? And it can then, based on the intelligence that it has gathered, right, and plus the feedback that it has gathered, it can modify. Say, if I talk about testing, it can modify a lot of test cases, right? Run those test cases and provide us the results, right? Another very important aspect to this is the automated generation of test cases, right? Now, say, let's take a very simple example that I need to test a very basic node, right, and which provides a very simple HTTP, let's say, REST HTTP based interface, right? Simple message. Now, if you go to a manual tester, right, and then this particular message has, say, 10, 15, 20 parameters, right? When you go to a manual tester, uh, he'll take some time to write those test cases, right? Now, it may so happen that he may still be skipping certain parameters, right? Or he may not be doing enough negative test scenarios, right? So which means the coverage is lost somewhere. Now, with AI coming into picture, right, and a lot of these variable encoders coming into picture, right, the AI system can write these test cases, positive, negative, right, and then you can just have intent-based things saying that, okay, test this particular interface for me. The AI bots, right, they can go ahead and start running these test cases. The other aspect, and again, this is a very interesting thing. Uh, Now, a fundamental feature of AI is wherein you can predict things. Right? Now, see, if I have AI that can predict that this particular area or this particular feature probably is going to be more bug prone, right? Or the probability of finding bugs in a particular feature or
Right.
particular area is higher, right? AI can focus more in there as well,
Okay.
right? Plus, of course, it can scale up quite well, right? You have uh, GPUs, you can have parallel processing, you can have cloud native architectures, right? So AI can play a wonderful role, a very critical role, right? And it can actually take a lot of complexity involved in the manual testing of these complex networks, right? And which can eventually lead to a better tested network, which can eventually lead to more customer satisfaction and a better network overall. So, hope that gives you some introductory idea of challenges and how AI addresses them.
Absolutely. Very interesting.
So now coming to the work Amantya is doing in the domain, and the company's developed highly advanced suite of testing tools. Could you tell me about the unique capabilities that these tools bring to the table, and also how Amantya has integrated AI into these tools, to address some of the challenges that you mentioned?
Sure. And then there's some background to this as well, right? Now, Amantya is a telecom product engineering organization, right? We have been developing telecom products, right? Especially around 5G, right? Now, a lot of so the challenges that I spoke about earlier, right? We were also facing those challenges, right? And to address those challenges, we also built our own test suits, right? Now, the good thing with us was that since we were playing on both sides, right? We were building these products. We To test these products, we were also building testing solutions, right? Which meant that we were kind of very tightly integrated loosely coupled, right? In the sense that, okay, we knew uh, what our testers or what our developers would, or the challenges they would be facing, and what exactly to test, right? Now, one of the key things that we initially understood was that some of the available solutions, right? Uh, I mean, the level of flexibility that we required, right, that was kind of missing, right? And the other important aspect, especially for an organization like us, which is a startup, was the cost efficiency part of it, right? So that is where the genesis of our test suite is, right? So we have built very interesting tools to test 5G RAN. We have our Auto RAN product, which is a superb thing, which actually uses real handsets, modems, etc. Right. Plus now we have emulated UEs running on SDRs. You can use to actually within Auto RAN to test the 5G network, right? So that's one important product, right? We have our software testers, right, to actually test 5G, 4G products as well, right? The Orca series. Uh, UPF, or the data plane, that's again one of our very interesting products, right? And to actually even test that, we built a very comprehensive tool, right? And again, the kind of traffic profiles that it provides, right, which again mimic very closely the real life scenarios. And this is again the learning that we got, right? So it has been a very interesting thing for us. We've built products, we've committed mistakes, we've learned from them. Not only we have enhanced the products, but then we've also enhanced our testing products, right? So that's the full circle, and that's the reason why I say we were playing on the both sides, right? So these learnings went into our products, and these learnings also went into our testing suite or our testing tools, right? Apart from that, coming to the other part wherein you said that what is AI, right? Now again, we have been quite early adopters of the AI, right? At least in the Indian eco system, right? We started this practice around a year plus ago, right? And of course, for us, since we are telecom focused, principally we were looking into how AI how we can use AI to actually enhance these products, right? And essentially there were three areas wherein we started focusing, right? One was that, of course, the AI based analysis of protocol deviations, errors, anomalies within the network. That's one area, right? The other area where we focused was the automated generation of test cases, and that is something that we are building at this point in time. We've built some parts of it. There are a few more things that we are building, right? The third part is the synthetic generation of data. Right now, why did we do all these things? As I mentioned, I mean, telecom is tough, right? I mean, the protocol knowledge level or the experience that you would want within your testing teams, that will always be a challenge, right? But with AI, right, you can build up these models, you can build up these applications that can actually figure it out what is wrong that is happening within your network, right? So protocol deviations, error scenarios, anomalies, right? So it's easier for us to actually do these analysis based on both logs as well as PCAPs, based on some of the KPIs that we take out from the network, right? So that's something that we had to do in any case, right? Now, automated generation of test cases was something that we thought afterwards, right? When we figured this piece out, right? We wanted to actually improve the coverage of our test cases, right? Now, to do that, traditionally, what people have been doing, they have been using traditional tools, right? But then those tools are more oriented towards uh, covering the implementation part of it, right? Coding part of it, right? Now, what we thought was that with all these modern networks, right, the coverage should be more focused on scenarios, right? And especially with all these different devices, different interactions, right? Now that is where this AI comes into picture, right? So just think it in terms of those in a real life network, right? You have billions of different devices, right? Each behaving a little bit differently. Now, what AI can do is they can, or AI agents or AI bots, whatever you may want to call them, they can actually very well emulate or simulate all these scenarios quite well, right? And that is where they, once they've simulated these scenarios, right, they can also generate test cases in and around those scenarios, right? So that is where we started focusing as well, right? Third was obviously we had to train these models. We had to uh, think of new potential scenarios that can happen in future, right? So that is where this whole synthetic data generation that came into picture, right? We've also done few very interesting things on voice quality, right? So I mean all mobile operators, I mean voice quality is one of their key KPIs,
Mhm.
right? And traditional models again fail to scale up, right? So we have our internal AI based models that actually predict voice quality, right, based on certain easily available parameters, right? RTB streams and a couple of other parameters. So that's again a very interesting area that we've done, right? So if you look at our auto ran or similar tools, auto Wi-Fi or this thing, we've kind of integrated these within those tools, right? Because at the end of the day, testing is just one part of it. If you need to again look at it from end-to-end perspective, log analysis, analysis of what is happening within the network, any deviations, failures, anomalies, right? You would want to have something,
Absolutely.
right? You would want to have something that can help you generate test cases, right? So, so these things kind of seamlessly plug into your products, right? So that's the thing that we've been doing with our products, right?
That's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
So, Gaurav, how do these tools scale to diverse testing environments, and also how do they keep pace up with the evolving networks that we have?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, I mean, look at the way, and in fact, AI is actually a very interesting, or it's designed in a way to actually take care of all these scenarios. Right now, look at a real network, right? It is always going to be a multi-vendor, multi-product sort of an environment, right? Now, these individual AI-based testing tools, right? So the base layer would be all these different AI agents or AI test tools, right? Testing individual components, right, from say one vendor, right? And each of these tools would obviously be trained, of course, be trained with data from that vendor, right, focused on that particular part. But then there's a layer on top of it, right, that actually kind of orchestrates this whole thing, right? I think that's again an AI based layer, right? So essentially, what we are saying here is that in a multi-vendor environment, right, wherein a simple test case, right, it may not be able to provide you that level of coverage, right? Now, these AI agents or these AI test tools focusing on one particular vendor, right, and orchestrated by a higher AI agent, right, that can actually help you test the system much better, right? The other thing is that as far as scaling up is concerned, if you look at these tools, right, most of these are cloud-based, CNF, VNF-based tools, right? You have GPUs, you have parallel processing, right? You can easily scale up these agents, right? Again, it's more of an orchestration sort of a thing, uh, wherein so you can have all these multiple tools scaling up, scaling down using traditional technologies, right? Of course, few things are new, right? But then based on the kind of GPUs that you have, you can easily scale up these things. The other essential and important part is that this cross-domain learning, right? Again, traditional models don't have that, right? With AI-based agents or test tools, right? So think of a scenario: you have an IoT device using a 5G network sending data to say industry automation 4.0 kind of an application, right? Now you have these different AI agents orchestrated by a single AI agent running on the top of it, that can actually create these different, very interesting scenarios. So in a real life network, right, it's going to have a tradition, have a very strong impact to actually give you better quality and come up with scenarios that are more real in life. Right? So hope that answers your question. Good.
So, looking ahead, what future advancements for AI in testing tools do you foresee, and how is Amantya preparing for them?
Sure. So I'll take the first part. Right now, AI is a field that is evolving every day. Right now, AI agents or AI small bots. Right now, that's something that has taken the world by storm, especially in the last 6 months or 1 year. Right, I do personally see smaller AI agents, bots mimicking real world scenarios. Right, so there is going to be tremendous work in them. The other area where I feel there is going to be a lot of growth are two aspects, right? One is building more transparency into how these AI agents work, and how do they gather these results, or how do they incorporate the feedback, right? Because one of the things, I won't like to call it a problem, right, but one of these things with AI things is that a lot of people still don't understand how do they work, right? Which means that if I don't understand how this agent or how this bot works, right, I may not be able to foresee the challenges in it, right?
Right.
So definitely there is going to be some amount of work that is done to actually increase the transparency on this thing. Cross domain AI agents, definitely, right, or these orchestration of AI agents, definitely that is one area where a lot of work is being done, plus in future that will also be done. I also believe data generation, right? That's another key area where a lot of organizations are working as well, and in the coming future, right, a lot of work will be done. Apart from that, in terms of actual implementation, I do see a lot of platforms coming up. I also see the scalability of these things improving, right? So yeah, those are key things. At least I am no oracle. I can't. I don't have a crystal ball with me, and I can look into that. But yeah, these are things that I feel uh, would be interesting in times to come right now. As far as Amantya is concerned and how we are preparing ourselves, we've always been a forward looking engineering organization, right? We've always been kind of early adopters into all these sort of things, right? So, of course, we have been preparing our teams. We've set up a dedicated practice way back, right? We have been actually incorporating these AI based tools, features into our products as well. There is training plans internally within the organization around this area. We have been part of initiatives right within India as well, where we have been exploring these things, right? In fact, within the organization as well, we have been actually utilizing a lot of AI based tools as well, right? So it's again one of those things you can't do in isolation, right? You do it full throttle, or you don't do it, right? And it isn't as if you only do AI in bits and pieces, right? If you have to bring in that culture within the organization, you'll have to do it company wide, right? So not only AI in in testing or test tools, you would need to see how do I leverage, or how do I actually involve AI based tools in my design, in my product features, in my implementation, right? So in those areas as well, right, we have been quite early adopters into this whole thing, right? So if you talk to a lot of development teams as well, right, or architecture teams as well, right, they will be actually more than happy to explain how AI is being used within the organization, right? So yeah, I think we are geared well, right? I mean, the only challenge is this is such a a speedy thing that has been going on. So, but yeah, I guess we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, so it's very impressive. A lot of good work being done here. And also, it's like it's becoming a part of the company's culture. So it's
Absolutely.
something which is there. So great. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for such a lovely session. It's
Pleasure
been
to
such
meet
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
With this, we come to the end of today's episode of the Amantya podcast series. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found the session useful. Do stay tuned for more such insightful discussions. We shall be back soon with another interesting topic and conversation. Until then, this is Rohina signing off. Bye bye.